Some that we use here at school are Pro Tools. They actually do teach a Pro Tools class, which I highly recommend taking if you haven't. But just to go over a few, you can get something such as Reaper, which is free. I know they like you to kind of donate or something to help develop it. So that's a good start if you don't have much room in your budget. They have FL Studio for Windows, which is kind of known as a beat-making software, but you can do other things with it as well. Cakewalk Sonar, which is for Windows, which is very good, I might add. And for all you Mac users, they have Logic. And I want to say that you can get it for around $200 right now in the App Store. So that's a good deal. All right. Now, most of these workstations do come with virtual instruments. Some of them are good, some of them aren't, but that's okay. There's tons of developers that create these. Now, if you're going to want to be getting sounds such as pianos, brass, choirs, you name it, it just goes on and on. You're going to need to get something called a software sampler. I like to use Native Instruments Contact. It does have a hefty price tag, but it comes with tons of acoustic and electric instruments, pianos, choir pads, orchestral sounds, and the list goes on and on. But one cool thing about them is they'll give you a free player. You can simply go to their website, and there's lots of developers that'll give you sample packs that you can use. It's a good way to get your productions off the ground. These are a few of the virtual instruments and what they look like, just to familiarize yourself with them. Now these are processors, studio tools, such as the EQ in the top, and then you have some compressors in the bottom. Those are going to be more of your paid stuff, but there are developers out there that will give you some free things. Now I do have a PowerPoint that I've created, and if you email me, which my email is on the program, I'll send you this PowerPoint, and it has some links in there that you can get some free VSTs on. Okay, now after you get all your equipment, one thing you're going to have to do is set up your studio. Now the first thing you want to do is pick you a room, somewhere that's going to be quiet, preferably carpeted, or put a rug. Not too many windows, not a whole lot of outside sound, which sometimes can be difficult, but that's okay. All right. Now, like I said, if you don't have a room that is super quiet, you can spend a little bit and get some acoustic foam, as you see in my studio right here. And that really helps kind of deaden your environment. That way you can have a good, clean mix. Now, sometimes you might not want that. You might want to get some of the room ambience for something such as drums or various other applications. So just think about what you are really trying to achieve. Now, in setting up your studio, if you choose to go with monitors, it can be kind of tricky. There's a lot of things that people don't know about. Well, you just don't put them in the room. If you can imagine like a triangle where you're sitting in, you want it to be between 45 and 35 degrees. If you can turn your head and look, you should imagine a line coming directly out of that speaker and going right behind your neck. That's going to let you know that you're, pretty close. But at that point, you'll want to play a mono audio track back. Now, if you have your monitors positioned right, it should sound like it's coming directly at you. It's going to change a little bit. You might sit right here one day, you might sit right there. But for the most part, when you have them in the right spot, you'll adjust your body accordingly. Okay. Now, you get your studio set up. You're going to need to get everything plugged in. I can't tell you how many times when I got started, you plug something in, it doesn't work. And usually it's because it's an operator error. Such as microphones, you'll want to enable the phantom power I was talking about earlier. Because if the microphone doesn't have power, it's not going to work. So usually they're on the front of the interface. Just turn the switch on. And one thing to keep in mind, don't plug in your microphone or unplug it when your phantom power is on. So you can definitely mess some stuff up like that. Okay. Once you get everything connected and you figure out that, you'll want to get all your software installed. Now, usually you're going to need some updates. This day they're sending updates out every week. Now, keep in mind, not every update you need. If you have a Mac and you're on 10 point, let's just say 5, you might not need to update to 10.9 because then it might throw everything off. So don't always be so quick just to go ahead and download every single update. All right. Now, for recording audio, let's go ahead and get into that. These are some screenshots. You can kind kind of familiarize yourself with, and keep in mind, like I said, this is Ableton Live. Okay, you need to get to know your DAW interface. Let's go ahead and get to that. Okay, this is going to be your main project window. This is where you're going to do a lot of your work. Let's put this on full screen. Oh, and hotkeys, guys. Learn a hotkey like every day. Teach yourself a hotkey. Makes your workflow a lot faster. Okay, this is the main project window. This is going to let you interact with all your instruments, see what's going on, see your folders over here to the left. You see your channel settings and whatnot. A lot of stuff goes on right here. Now let's go to the next window, which is the mixer window. Now I know this is kind of similar in Pro Tools. I'm pretty sure they have a mixer window as well. So like I said, this is broad. It'll transfer over, and you might have to refer to your manual a little bit, and I recommend always getting a book. Whatever you're using, just get the book. This looks a lot like a mixer. You can see your channel settings, you can see your volume, you have your sends. I know that might be gibberish right now, but you'll learn all that. You have, it really shows you what's going on in your mix, because that's really important. You want to always be monitoring everything. Okay. Up here in the top is the transporter. This is what's going to move you around. You can see this arrow right here. I know it's hard to see. It's going to be like your play button, stop, record. Over here to the right, for all my music people out there, you can see your measures and where you're at. You have a reloop button. You have things that they call punch in and punch out. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. If you're getting started, you need to figure out the basics. I just want to touch on it. Over here on the left, you have some call it the click track. It's a metronome. It's the same thing. That's how you can set your project. I remember the first time I actually made a track, it was at 120 because I didn't really know how to change it. I didn't know you could just go to it and drag it up and down. It was that simple. So, okay. But yeah, that's the transporter. Make sure you familiarize yourself with that, because that's how you get moving around your track. Okay, now over here to the left, we're going to go to a VST panel. Now VST is just a format. A lot of them will use that, but I know Pro Tools, they like to have their own format. I think it's AAX or something like that. But anytime you buy a plugin, for the most part, the developers will make sure it crosses over. As you can see, this is where I keep all my instruments. Now it is routed to a folder, and we'll kind of get to that in a minute. I just want to familiarize you with that. Okay. Now if we go back over here to the session window, you'll see we have some channel settings. We'll kind of open this up a little bit. This is where you can choose your different channels, because on your audio interface, for example, right now we just have 2 channels, so it's not too much to choose through. So obviously we're on channel 1, external input. And Ableton is really good about having the general settings, which will kind of cross over and work. It's very generalized, but usually it works. You might have to get really specific sometimes if you're having multiple audio chains routed to different places. But just starting, you probably won't have to worry about that. Okay. Now, just for presentation purposes, I'm not going to close this and open a new project, but I do want to show you how simple it is to open one. Okay, if you go up here in the top, you'll have File. It's as simple as Open Live Set or New Live Set. You can click on New Live Set. It's going to open up a blank window, a blank place to start. And always, go ahead and save your project right then. I've definitely had projects before where you get in there, you turn it on, you got something good going, and all of a sudden your computer kind of gives you some trouble. The next thing you know, you lost it. So always save your project immediately. Okay. Now, before you can start recording, one thing we need to talk about is your settings. You'll want to go into the preferences. Now, I want to say on Mac, your preference settings are going to be under File for some reason. Is Aaron Atchison in here? Yeah. Okay, chime in on that. Am I correct? Okay, good. And, okay, don't worry about it. No big deal. On Mac, it might be a little different, but it's the same thing for the most part. Sometimes it changes a little bit from platform to platform, but usually you'll find yourself around. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to preferences. This is where you're going to route everything. Let's start up here at audio. Right now, I'm not going to use my computer sound card. We're using this M-Audio Mobile Pre. So we'll click on that. That's set up. Now when linking up MIDI, you can choose different surfaces. If you're just using one surface, it's not going to be a big deal. Right now I have a few, so what I'm choosing is my MPK61 as my main control surface. Now that's going to enable me to work through the workstation without really having to, y'all wouldn't have to click on stop or play. So you really want to make sure that all that is set up first. Your file folders. Like I was talking about earlier with your plugins, you need to make sure that that Ableton is directed to that so you can actually find that, or not, it's not going to show up at all. So you can go into your, let's see, plugin source right here at the bottom. Click on Browse, point it towards it. It's usually going to be in like Program Files, VST, or whatever you name your folder as. Rescan it, and it's going to pop up every time. Okay. Now, one thing I want to talk about is your outputs and inputs on audio. Okay, input configuration. Like I said, there's only 2 channels, so we have both of them activated. That's for the input and for the output. Same thing. It's that simple. Okay, now that's it. For the most part, when setting up a new project, that's